Hello everyone, I am Tacet, and today I'm going to be going over all of the changes that occurred in 2.15. For the full list that we're going over right now, I will be posting that in the description below if you want to look over it yourself, but we're going to be going over it in as much detail as I possibly can right now. So the first and main thing added to this update was all of the visual changes with the hero. That was one of the main things that they were going for with this, is just updating the hero, making them more customizable. They will be rescaling the stats in the future. One thing that did occur in this patch is the bug was fixed in which, right there, was fixed in which heroes were getting additional hero stats. That was reverted back to what it was before 2.1 patch, where it ended up glitching out, and they just fixed it now. But they are looking into reworking heroes in some way in the future, just to compensate for the change and just to make them more useful, because they do want to bring heroes back into the game in what's currently really used in the meta in the game right now. Heroes don't get used excessively, so they're going to be reworking them some probably soon to be able to do that. But anyways, this patch was for the visuals, and let's go into the game and actually see some of the things that you can do. As you can see, even in the top left, we already see our hero. You can do this in you don't actually have to worry about your armor being the same one on your hero now. All you do is go into your armor and switch whatever armor you want to use. Of course, you just use whatever armor here, which you have the highest bonus for. But in the appearance tab now, you can change absolutely everything. Male, female, all of the classes, headwear, armor, hairstyle, the color of the hairstyle feature, and the color of the feature. They also added two new ones, this Lamia for females and this male dwarf, and they're likely going to be adding additional ones in the future as well. And then you can just customize it to however you want. There's a bunch of different options. One thing I did notice though is if you put headwear on, it currently undoes your hair, so that ends up looking a bit weird in some instances. Like, you can't have both hair and what's it called, hair and helmet active at once. So let's make her a pirate. The pirate kingdom will be coming probably next week, is around the time that they are likely to be doing that. And that will bring in a bunch of extra pirates and a bunch of other things to the game. But for now, we do not have it, but I'll just make her a pirate for now. So yeah, there we go. There's her appearance, and whenever you just go out, it'll just, of course, replace out the thing. And that's our new hero, and there's a lot of different customization that you can do with that. They also added a black skin tone for the human class, as well as just a bunch of everything that you can do with them. I think there's about 20 different colors. It'd be cool if they had a color wheel or something for it, but most of them should be able to cover any of your needs that you have for appearance with your hero. So a lot more customization with that. Now pretty much no two heroes look alike, except for a few exceptions within the game. So one other thing you might notice right now is the music in the background is completely different. They end up adding about 40 minutes of new music to this game, all custom made for Gems of War. So we have something different now than just the repetitive same song going over and over again and sometimes cutting out. I actually haven't heard this music cut out incorrectly yet, so I believe they fixed the audio cutout issue as well with adding this new music. So anyways, let's go back and onto our list here. The next really big thing that came in this patch, which is only applicable, I would say, to about 20%, 10% of the people playing, are legendary tasks. Legendary tasks are tasks that you can do after you have completed all 72 basic tasks for a week. They then cost 1 million gold, and you can just keep doing them over and over and over again until next week, in which you'll have to do the 16 million for the 72 tasks, and then just keep doing 1 million again for the legendary tasks. If your guild is not getting up to the legendary tasks, as in completing all the tasks in a week, one thing that you can do if you're getting up to about 8, 9, or maybe 10 every single week, but not all the way, you can just save for 1 week, just go up to 4 and 5 on every single task, or maybe even 6, and then the following week use all of your saved gold, coordinate it with your guild, and then you'll be able to get all 72 tasks done, as well as a legendary task or two, or maybe even a few. But here are all the drops for the legendary tasks. One thing to also note about these right now is guild seals currently do not drop from them. That would actually be an amazing drop if they did, but there was a glitch occurring with them, and they have to remove it for now until they fix that. But all of these other rewards are here: the Gems of Glory, Glory Keys, Gem Keys, Event Keys, minor trade stones, arcane trade stones, and a legendary or mythic. I also ended up doing this quite a bit yesterday, opening up a bunch of them. I'll link that in the top right. But I'm going to also do some right now. So let's just go over to guild, show you exactly where you go to do this. All you need to do is just go into guild and then over to guild and over to tasks. And once you have all 72 tasks done, this is what your screen will look like. You then have a repeatable 1 million cost gold task that will give you 3 of those random rewards I was just mentioning earlier, except for seals. Seals aren't in the drop pool right now. And this does go to everyone in your guild, and every single person in your guild gets the same 3. So it's not like some people will be getting different ones and stuff like that. And let's actually go open some, because I do have quite a few just sitting around here. Ended up opening about 25 during the stream yesterday. But let's see what we get. 2 event keys, 500 glory, 2 gem keys, and let's just open all these real quick. I don't want to show all just so we can see every single instance. There's 6 gem, 10 glory, 2 event. 2 event, 15 glory, 6 gem. Whoa. What is that? How did we get 32 of that? Wow, we got a lot of arcanes on this. Okay, so we got 2 arcane venom. I want to go through this slow. Oh, and 30 minor. Okay, that's why I was all, or 30 purple. That's why I was all weird like that. And 6 gem keys. And, doesn't look like we're going to get any legends or mythics. I haven't seen a single mythic drop yet. And I've done about, I'd say this is somewhere around 30 or 40. I haven't gotten an exact number on how many times I've done these, but I know I think my guild is at like 50 million, 60 million, maybe even more gold this week. So we've definitely done quite a few, and we just ended with 2 event keys, 25 glory keys, and 4 gem keys, so a little bit extra. I did end up getting about 3 legends the other day. We're still collecting data on what the exact drop rates are, because they are weighted. Every single drop in there isn't in the exact same chance, obviously, like something like a mythic and other stuff like that. And the community is currently trying to find what those values are, because the developers will not say. But yeah, let's see, what else do we have? Oh yeah, there is now a resource counter. Whenever you go into a battle, you'll see a resource counter on the top of the map, or on the top of your board, where it says the cap of 100 gold, 100 gold, 40 souls, and 10 maps. And here it also mentions the soundtrack done by Aaron C. Edwards. And on top of that, there is also a mass disenchant button now for any of you who are starting to upgrade to mythics and you want a quicker method to just mass disenchant all your stuff. All you need to do is go over to disenchant, click disenchant all, and then click disenchant. I will not disenchant my stuff though. I have almost 1 million souls that I can get from it, but as you can see by my horde, I really don't need that million souls. And I'm kind of just collecting to see how many I can get, and you never know, they might actually add a feature in the future where we might need extra copies. So I'm kind of hesitant to just disenchant all, especially since there's no purpose for additional souls at this kind of point. But it might be convenient. It disenchants all your mythics down to 4 copies. And if you're starting to get like everything upgraded, it's just a very quick way to be able to disenchant instead of going one by one. That could take hours just to get all of your souls accumulated. And now for some balance changes. The main one is the necromancy and greed both now give or not necromancy and greed, necromancy and merchant now give their bonus on top of the bonus at the end of the match. So let's say you had 2 greeds. Instead of getting 100 gold at the end of the match, you'd be getting 150 because it will boost up that ratio. And the same thing with necromancer or necromancy. Even though this says that it was reduced down to 25%, I believe there's still a glitch with necromancy in which it is behaving like 50%. So earlier when I was testing it with 2 necromancies, you could actually get 80 souls plus all of your bonuses at the end of the battle, which was an absolute huge increase. They will eventually be reducing necromancy down to 25%, but last I checked, necromancy still does trigger at 25%. And one really big nerf that has had a lot of people talking is the Valkyrie nerf. Valkyrie now has mana shield instead of necromancy. She used to be exactly the same for almost 2 years now. She's been like that for like a year and 9 months or so. But she has finally been nerf hammered. She still does just as much souls as she did in the previous patch for the most part. But the main difference is she does not have the necromancy anymore, which if you're using it on Explorer or just in quick battles, you might not be getting the cap anymore. Plus now with the new raise cap, you won't be able to raise your cap with a Valkyrie. But she still does just as many souls as she used to. She just doesn't have the benefit of her trait. So still a very good troop overall. Actually, technically she's even stronger because Mana Shield is more defensive than just a resource trait. But of course everyone was using her to farm, not to protect from mana burn. So yeah, but to compensate for this, a lot of other troops did get soul gains and other things like that, as well as necromancy. As you can see, Alkalite ended up getting necromancy. Avina now scales off of magic and does a whole lot of souls. I think mine's doing almost like 23, 24 souls just for a cast. Plus her base value was increased from 1 to 4, so even if she's reduced to 0 magic, she'll still be gaining souls. Banshee actually has the highest soul gain in the entire game now, especially if you get her fully traded, so you definitely want to consider that. Especially the team I used to suggest quite a bit, the Trant, let's see, what is it? Trant, Alchemist, Valkyrie, Banshee combo is probably going to be even better now in early game. Since you have so many things that can farm for that now, especially with the Banshee being able to do that as well. But other than that, Dragon Soul ended up increasing from 10 to 15. It already is pretty high. Didn't really think that's even needed, but I don't mind because I use the Dragon Soul quite a bit. Marriott actually has a pretty big buff, which I really like. He was pretty much useless before. Now his spell always does this random stats effect every single time you cast it. It's not based on how many green gems are on the board. On top of that, it also has a 20% chance to give a treasure map, just like Tyree. Also, one other thing I was noticing when I was using Marriott and Tyree, I wasn't testing this extensively, but I noticed that the amount of maps that you can farm per match actually increased when I was using a Tyree and Marriott. I didn't see that mentioned anywhere and anywheres here, but that does seem to be the case if you're using one of them. The current map cap is 10, but I believe it increases by 5 every single time you use a Tyree or Marriott. Next up is a pretty big buff as well to the Nobin brothers. Goblins may be making a comeback. If I'm not mistaken, in a couple weeks we're even going to be getting a Goblin event, so that's going to add even more, or Zeijin event I should say, which is going to bring, of course, at least one Goblin. But this is pretty interesting because now everything he has scales off of magic, and he always gains an extra turn. His mana cost was rescaled from 12 to 13 to compensate for this, but he is a lot stronger. Might not be used too much still in all Goblin teams, mainly because the all Goblin teams doesn't really have a way to feed him mana. If he was somehow had a green mana in any way, he would be absolutely ridiculous. But the fact that he's brown-red, he might still be fairly weak. You might actually see him in non-Goblin teams, actually, now that he's kind of like a... he basically does everything. He can now reduce the enemy's attack. He can now just do a bunch of AoE damage to all your enemies, or he can just explode the whole board like a Gorgoltha or something. So yeah, Queen Jezebel, she ended up getting her trait fixed for the 2 days that she was out initially before the patch. Her trait was triggering every single turn, as well as on the enemy's turn, meaning she was essentially gaining twice the benefit from her legendary ability than she should have been, but that has been rescaled and is working properly now, as the text says. So not really a nerf, but it's working as it should be now. Sacrificial Priest now has the Necromancy, so you'll probably be using that too if you're ever going to go soul farming. Sacrifice 2 now has the Necromancy, and the text was fixed for other languages. Warlock now has Necromancy. Everything's getting Necromancy. This is one of my favorite ones too, White. I was a big fan of White. It was one of the first troops I ended up using in this game with Shadow Dragons and Brian the Lucky. He ended up getting a pretty big buff. He now gains souls whenever he casts based on his magic. He also has Fire Link, which will make sure he can get even more magic on top of that. And the fact that he life steals and everything like that, he's going to be really, really good with magic buffing. One other thing that works really good with this, which might actually make the Keeper of Souls legendary ability viable again, is the Keeper of Souls does summon a White, and the Keeper of Souls does have the Necromancy trait, so having a fully traded Keeper of Souls might be slightly better than what it used to be. It's still pretty bad, but at least it'll be slightly better. If it gets that White, you'll be able to get some souls and go from there. Demonicon actually does what it says now. It now summons a random daemon. Before, it used to just be Aberrath, that purple one from Blighted Lands, and one other one I actually completely forget. But now it summons every single, or has a chance of summoning any daemon in the entire game. And to compensate for that, since that is quite a bit stronger, it has been rescaled from 14 to 16 mana. Phylactery and Soulblade end up both getting a magic increase to them. Soulblade with a static 10. If I'm not mistaken, you can even get this on PC and mobile this week from the Sword's Edge pack that also has Queen Jezebel. But there's that, and there's also the Phylactery, which now scales off of magic. So if you have very high magic on your hero, you can even use it with something like the Sorcerer class, because it is a blue-purple, so you can get even more on that. And I'll show those in a moment. as well as some of these, but I just want to go over these and the troop refunds, which is what we're actually going to go into the game for. There's a lot of troops that have been refunded. All you have to ever do whenever there is a refunded troop is just click refund, and it'll bring up every single one that currently has a refund. Of course, the nerfed Net Valkyrie is up there. All of these are pretty much still worth trading, though. There isn't really any of them that you would have to refund for the most part. Actually, even with Mariod and, well, just with Mariod, it was a buff. Maybe you could even consider Sacrificial Priest and Alkalite a buff too, and Warlock. But the only two that really got nerfed was Queen Jezebel, who has her ability working correctly now, and Valkyrie, who, yeah, she got nerfed. She got nerfed pretty hard, but she still does a lot of souls. It's not like she doesn't do souls anymore. But let me go show those two weapons from earlier that I was mentioning, if I can even remember how to spell them. There we go. Phylactery, it can actually do quite a bit of souls. It restores your life to full and gain an extra turn, and then gain 24, or at least I'm getting 24 souls. Of course, your number will be different, but using a sorcerer class or a fully traded sorcerer class would be the best way to utilize that. And if you are at a lower one, Soul Blade has a static 10, regardless of what your magic is always going to get 10 from whenever you cast. But what I was mentioning earlier with the Avina has a very, very high soul gain now. So much damage, so many souls. But the highest in the entire game as of currently is the Banshee right now, who is only at 22. But if you have 3 or more air spirits, you'll be at the highest soul gain in the entire game, above even that of Avina. So in theory, you can get your Banshee to have the highest soul gain in the entire game right now. So I'm pretty sure usage of her will be pretty popular again. She used to be very popular when the game first came out, as well as in some looping teams and stuff like that. She ended up falling off, but now I'm pretty sure she's going to be used so much now that she's technically the best soul gainer in the entire game. Maybe not for looping and just recasting it, but she can definitely, or as far as the initial amount that she gets per casting it, is the highest in the entire game if you have it fully traded. All she needs is two yellows on the team to make it even or tied with the highest, or 3, and it will be the highest. The other highest would be tied with the hero weapon of how do you even say that? Phylactery, which of course with the sorcerer class, a fully traded sorcerer class, would then be the highest soul gain in the entire game. But you really don't need too many of these going too high. Like all of these, anything above 20, you cast it twice, you already reached the cap. For the most part, even if you have a raised cap, the 25% from it will most likely be still reaching you to the cap. So for the most part, anything like this that are above 20, 2 casts and you're still good. If not, a third one wouldn't be too hard. So yeah, that is how all of that is now. And of course, if you do want any of these refunded, all you have to do is just type in refund and go into troops and refund any of these that you might need, or just need to trade for stones for, or anything like that. But that is pretty much everything that was done in 2.15. If you have any other questions about anything that has occurred this patch, or any questions about the game in general, feel free to leave it in the comment section below. I will be going over some builds in the future for all of this new stuff. I just wanted to give a brief overview of everything that has changed for any of you who might not have seen this or seen my stream that I did yesterday. But anyways, that'll wrap it up for this video. Thanks for watching and have a wonderful day.